You got to be careful what you believe when it comes to YouTube. In some cases, you'll be told that content creators make money because they make videos because they need the money from YouTube. And I would ask anyone to answer me this. How you know that? You all up in my business? Or do I run YouTube like a business? Is it possible that everything you do is for me? That could be possible as well. It could also be possible that Flavor Flav was the founder of Public Enemy, not at the Lions game. All right, not this time anyway. But anyway, let's get into it, bro. I'm going to say this. I'm not for taking stuff in the street. I'm not about it, right? I got people watching me. I got sponsors. You know what I'm saying? Legit sponsors. I got that happening. I got people, big wigs watching me. So I try not to inject myself into this type of thing. But I say this. You got something to say, you know where to find me. All right? Okay. And if you ain't going to mention me by name, then stop talking about me. But I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing because I got no problem saying your name. Okay? As a matter of fact, I say it every video. The more you know. Anyway, let's get into this, man. So yesterday I made a video about MAXX CROSBY, and for those of you who have hearing, who are listening to the words that are coming out of my mouth, I told you that I don't foresee this happening. All right? Brad Holmes has a track record of drafting, building through the draft, and if anybody's going to bring someone in here, then it's going to be a below average, less than stellar pass rusher. All right? So I told you that MAXX CROSBY, to me, was not an option. The Raiders have all the power here, okay? But we've seen people make stinks before. So you got Brad Holmes that would have to do something he doesn't do. You got the Raiders being an absolute fool and losing their best player on offense and their best player on defense. And you got to be careful what you hear on the internet. You really, really do. So with that being said, I want to put the ball in your court because, again, I run my YouTube channel like a business. Started it from scratch. I'm at 22.5. Thank you very much. And I did it mostly by myself. I didn't have to befriend anybody to do that, to make that happen. I didn't have to snuggle up in the comment section. I didn't have to delete my comments from a live stream. And like I said, bruh, I'm about that life. I'm not going to regret or retract nothing because I keep it $150. And you know what's up. But anyway, as you can see, I got some stuff I need to get out off my chest. I tried to take the high road, but I'm telling you, man, in this business here, you got people cutthroat. It is cutthroat island up in here. I swear, y'all, I don't do this. But here's what I wanted to bring, and I wanted to put the ball in your court because do I make money from these YouTube videos? I do. Do I want to do YouTube full time? Absolutely. 100%. Do I need this money? It helps. It comes in handy, but that's funny. All up in my business, like you know something. All right? Anyway. Boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'm telling you, man. Again, I thought Flavor Flav was the founder of Public Enemy. I didn't know he was at the Lions game looking dumb. Oh, my God, bro. Anyway. Oh, man, oh, man. You got fired on your day off. Don't forget, half that channel is mine. That's all right, though. You can have it because you need it. You need it. Anyway, so saw this. Shout out to my guy on Twitter, man. You know who you are. Shout out to my guy. Like to give credit where credit is due because that's what I do. All right. I try not to be boring like other people, but we're talking about Davante Adams and MAXX CROSBY. Well, it's a segment on Pat McAfee. And there's a gentleman that we're very familiar with. We've seen his content before in articles. And like I said, you got to be careful what you believe because on the internet, you can put anything out. Some of it is true. Some of it is not true. But one thing I will say is that I'm more inclined to believe some of this stuff than not believe it because it seems as though a lot of this stuff winds up having some type of validity to it. All right. Now, you guys think Davante Adams is a diva. I don't think that is the case. But I also think that Davante is the recipient of a lot of noise, right? So he has to say things and he will say things kind of like myself. He don't just let stuff just stand by the wayside and go unchecked. He'll say something. So when Antonio Pierce accidentally likes a post and then doesn't call his wide receiver, he is going to take offense to that, as he should, right? If you going to be a man and call somebody, then that's what you do. But sometimes men, they get aggressive, right? They get full of themselves. And sometimes the man creeps up, right? and then they'll just go start things for no reason, okay? Some of them will do that. But this is a video that I saw with from the Pat McAfee show, and this is from yesterday. And I believe this guy's name is Mike Lombardi, and I want you to take a listen to what he's saying, and I want you to tell me if you believe any of this stuff when it comes to MAXX CROSBY. You can see from the banner below here that he claims that there's some type of disconnect with the Raiders organization. Now, before we hear him, I'm going to tell you that I kind of buy into this a little bit because these guys are insiders. This information gets leaked for a reason, and that's to keep the media stream moving, okay? Is it true? Is it not? A lot of times, though, to me, it seems like there is true. And what's happening with Davante Adams, how Pierce is running that locker room, okay? I can believe this. I don't know if it's entirely true, but I can believe it. So without further ado, let's check this out. This is what was said by Mike Lombardi from the Pat McAfee show yesterday. Let's check it out.
I think Davante's been very clear, and he's been very private about it. I'm not saying anything that he's done is wrong. I mean, he's been very upfront about what he wants, and he didn't show up to the offseason program for a bunch of other reasons. But I think essentially, nothing says I'm sorry better than money. And unless you're willing to reward the contract, I think it's going to be a problem. I've never seen a guy not go to – MAXX CROSBY didn't go to the game on Sunday with a hamstring. That, to me, bothers me. That tells me there's something going on in that locker room. Now, look, Antonio Pierce – is taken over. He was the interim coach. When you're the substitute teacher, it's a lot easier to get the students to listen and behave and do all those things. When you become the full-time teacher, all of a sudden you have to change your personality. We've really only seen two coaches go from interim status to full-time status and have a longevity in their NFL careers. Jason Garrett being one, Doug Marrone in Jacksonville being the other. So this is a challenging job, and you change because the position requires you to change. You're a head coach, and the players see that change, and they're like, what happened to the dude that was last year? It's a hard thing, Pat, and I think it's a tough situation to be put in.
So he called Davante 17 in presser earlier this week whenever talking about injuries, and then there's a full cut-up with the way he's chatting about Davante. Those two are on the outs, you think? Or are they on the outs because of the business side of it all, or...?
I think they're on the outs because of the business. I think, to me, look, I can't prove this, I don't know, but as Chuck eloquently said before I came on, you can't lie to players, you can't mislead players. And there seems to be a disconnect here, but there seems to be more than one disconnect. I think Crosby has always been the team guy, but when he doesn't show up to a game, that tells me something without knowing something.
So again, I don't make the news, I just report it. And I'm pretty good at it too, wouldn't you say? So, Mike Lombardi talking about the Davante Adams and MAXX CROSBY. Now, we're going to focus on MAXX CROSBY. MAXX CROSBY put out a tweet the other day. And matter of fact, it was yesterday, and it was something about, like you go through tough times and some other stuff, right? And we live in a social media age where people are going to hang on everything you say. That's the world that we live in. That's one of the reasons I get to do what I do, right? Not that you hang on what I say, but that's where we're at. We're in the business of bringing you information and giving our opinion on it. Could there be a disconnect between the Raiders organization and MAXX CROSBY? There could be, okay? But there's a lot of things that you have to factor in here. There's a lot of things. Would the Raiders be willing to let this guy go? Would they be willing to let him go due to the fact that I believe they just gave him some money, right? If you were to let MAXX CROSBY go, then you are saying that you are basically throwing in the towel. You're talking about a complete wipe at that point. You're going to probably fire Antonio Pierce. You're going to, and like Lombardi was saying, we've seen things not work out. Coaches get hired. A lot of people thought Dan Campbell was going to be that guy. We've seen that stuff not work out, right? So, is there any validity to this? I mean, it could be. I don't know. I'm not going to say there is. I'm not going to say that there isn't. But when it comes to the Detroit Lions, there's a lot that we have to factor in here. Now, do I want MAXX CROSBY? I do. You guys know that Trey Hendrickson is, to me, the guy that's more likely to be traded to the Detroit Lions because of the connection between Aaron Glenn and Dan Campbell, the fact that he wants to be traded, the fact that he wants security, the fact that we can do that for him. And Cincinnati might be in a little bit of trouble as well. But when it comes to MAXX CROSBY, I just don't think that, the Raiders are willing to move on from him. But what I do know is that if enough noise is made from any player, we've seen it. I mean, even with Davante Adams getting out of Green Bay, right? It was a lot of stuff that basically we've seen Antonio Brown. We've seen essentially any player. We almost saw it with Brandon Ayuk over the offseason. If any player can force themselves out. Le'Veon Bell several years ago did not play for the Pittsburgh Steelers, eventually was cut and wind up signing with the New York Jets. Now, what I haven't seen is a player reclaim that status. So back to MAXX CROSBY. Is this a possibility? I'm going to say it's possible. I don't think it's probable, but we don't know what's happening in that organization. But if we bring it back to the Detroit Lions, this dude is, what is MAXX? 27, 28, somewhere around there, right? He is going to require at least one first-round pick. So let me ask you this question. You see what Lombardi said, right? You see what he had to say. So the first part of the question is, do you believe even the slightest that there is a disconnect with MAXX CROSBY and the Raiders? Here's the thing. We're not going to hear many people say, yeah, I got a problem. That doesn't happen. So do you believe that is the case? The second thing is this. What would you be willing to give up for MAXX CROSBY? I am a firm believer that the Lions have built well enough through the draft that we can sacrifice a first-round pick. And I also believe that the further you go, the better your team is, right? Remember when Matthew Stafford was making his playoff run and we were talking about how we wanted, well, I was talking about, because this channel was in its infancy stages at the time. I was talking about how the better Stafford did, the worse our pick was. And then Brad Holmes wound up flipping that, you know what I'm saying, and getting Jamison Williams. Then he did it again for Jahmyr Gibbs and Jack Campbell, right? So I think it was Jahmyr that came out of that, and some other guys as well. So we know the haul that we got from Matthew Stafford. But would you be willing, with the Lions probably picking in the bottom third? We expect them to be in the running of the Final Four. And would you be willing to? There's not many late first round picks that work out. I mean, you got, for every Lamar Jackson you have another couple guys that just don't work out, right? Lamar Jackson was the last pick of the first round, pick number 32 in the first round. He is an anomaly, right? So is there any truth to this? I don't know. What would you be willing to give up for MAXX CROSBY? I'm guessing, I don't know. I mean, you got to take on his contract. You got to do all this stuff. And just for the record, I'm not feeding into this stuff. This is what I do. This is my job. And yes, I get paid to do this. I enjoy doing it, but I would never mislead my audience. I would never clickbait you. And please, before you start accusing me of clickbait, do some research on clickbait. All right? Please start doing that. And I don't understand, bro. I totally don't understand about this business. I understand YouTube, but then I don't. You know, a lot of people who run their mouth, a lot of people. What I love, though, is that this individual made it personal. I have yet to do that, and I don't intend to do that, because that's just low. Assuming that I need money, that I make these videos because I need the money. I make these videos because I enjoy it, and I'm actually really good at it. That's why you start mimicking everything that I'm doing. So don't play like I'm not. So as you can see, man, again, I'm trying to keep this out the streets, but I'm more than willing to take it there. But I got sponsors, bruh. I got people watching me. I got actual people of importance watching me. I don't do fantasy football on the Lions channel. That's all I'm saying, bro. So this is a mixture of stuff. But, you know, as I always say, if you want the smoke, then I got the machine. That's all I'm saying. Again, you ain't about that life. I can be. All right? So, anyway, let me know your thoughts, man. MAXX CROSBY, do you think that there's any validity to this at all? In addition to that, don't forget about the green gridiron helmet. They have several original, Lions helmets in stock. These are not in stock yet. I check every day for you guys to find out if they are. And one more time, because I want to make sure I remind y'all, Flavor Flav actually was a founding member of Public Enemy. You know, when you wear, he was the only one that I knew that wore like really goofy chains. Sometimes it was a clock on him in a desperate attempt to be on television. Anyway, you guys are awesome. You could be anywhere else on YouTube. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to do that over. You could be anywhere else on YouTube, but you choose to rock with me. And sometimes you steal directly from me. You guys are awesome. Take care of yourself and each other. And as always, go Lions. And always remember, got to be careful because sometimes you might need to retract and regret.